Thanks, Alex, you did this last time. You talked right when I launched this live. So here we are, folks. We're doing a live stream version of the episode. This is going to be this week's podcast. We originally were going to talk a little rumor mill, and then we decided, Ryan's like, let's get some mailbag questions. We'll answer a couple of them, and we got 30 of them. I think was the number that it's currently at right now. If you did happen to comment, we don't get to your question. Apologies for that. We're going to get to a good chunk of questions that weren't too redundant because there were some repeat questions, but we've got, I think, like a good chunk of 8 that we're going to be answering on this live stream. Before we get to that, though, folks, I just want to tell you about Bet Online, which is the official sponsor of our show. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your bonus from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all of the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so the read gives some people to file in and tune into this live stream. Guys, the first question that we have, and I think that this one is probably going to be the most talked about during the draft cycle. Colin, we're not taking any more questions. Thank you for commenting on the YouTube. This question is going to be asked a lot during the process. And Sam Cusimano, I think, was the name of the person who asked it. And we got a couple of variations of this question. How many quarterbacks are going to be drafted in the first round? So, Ryan, let's head to you first. I feel like the number right now is like 3 to 4 seems like the number that's floated out there. And it all depends on the Sam Howell declare, is he part of the class? And does anybody get drafted in the later half of the first round?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously Rappaport came out and said that, talking to some NFL executives and scouts, the number that was thrown out was 3 to 4. And everyone kind of lost their minds, which is a little weird to me. I mean, I've been pretty much on par. I think I've been asked a couple of times how many I thought. I think 3 is the number, to be honest with you. I think that I'm just kind of looking through the list right now, and Matt Corral's going first round. I just posted before we got on here and said that he terrifies me because I just watched his Arkansas game, and he absolutely does, man. But he's going first round. I'm 100% positive that he's going. He's probably going top 10. After that, then we're talking about guys like Malik Willis, potentially Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong maybe is a guy that gets into there, but Sam Howell might be a guy. So I think there's probably 5 guys that are potential first-round selections, good or not, and positive or not. But I do think that ultimately 3 to 4 is a safe number, and I agree with what Rappaport kind of put out there.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I think, Matt Corral is obviously the focal point of this year's quarterback class. We've seen a lot of varying opinions on those of Malik Willis. Carson Strong has some that are higher and some that are lower, of course. But I think Matt Corral, Sam Howell, I think is going to be a strong case, is going to make a strong case for himself to be in that first round consideration. I personally think right now we're going to sit at 3 because I think Carson Strong and the tools of Malik Willis are going to garner at least looks in the first round, though I don't think the level of play is someone you're comfortable with starting right away. I'm going to say 3. That's where my number is at right now.
Can I go through, and Alex, can we go through some of the quarterbacks real quick? And Joe, you can be a part of this too.
Play a game.
Let's do a yes, no, or maybe. Okay, yes,
okay.
No, maybe.
Okay.
Let's just determine this real quick. Ready? All right, Carson Strong.
Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe. All right, the knee is an outlier. It's a question mark right now. Matt Corral.
Yes.
Yes.
Sam Howell.
If he declares, I feel like yes.
I say yes.
He is declaring. He's walking on senior day, so that's an easy conclusion.
Okay.
Malik Willis.
I think that's a maybe.
I feel like that's a yes, just off of physical traits.
I think his level of play down the stretch being gotten worse throughout the season is going to hurt a little bit. But the tools, he's going to test amazing. He's going to work out amazing.
The thing is with me with this class, and I'm not as dove in deep as you guys are. I feel like there's nobody it's all just based off of traits. So it's just like, which traits do you like the most out of the group? There's nobody that's really like a developed prospect. It's worse than it usually is.
Right. And I agree with you on that sense. I'm actually out on the Malik Willis first round conversation. I'm out. I'm fully out. I don't think that he's going first round. I really don't. I think this is a hot take. Maybe somebody send it out in the Twitterverse or YouTube land if you think this is a hot take. I think Desmond Ridder goes before Malik Willis.
Holy crap! What?
I'm not saying I would do it. I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen. I think that happens.
I pray to God that doesn't happen.
Well, let's go there though. Let's go there. Desmond Ridder.
No,
I don't think he's a first rounder.
He's so bland, and I'm tired of people trying to act like that.
I think it's Kellen Mond's situation. We've seen what he is. He's an inconsistent, toolsy quarterback for 4 years, 4 years. I think this is someone that goes in the second, third round.
Okay, that's fair. And last one that I will throw out there is Kenny Pickett.
No.
I'm gonna say yes. I think
Yes,
it's gonna be stupid. He's gonna squeak into the end of the first round, and I bet that he doesn't even do anything with his NFL career. I'm gonna say it.
Yes.
He has the like the Davis Mills, Davis was Davis Webb or David Webb, the Texas Tech quarterback. Davis Webb.
Yeah,
he's such a nobody. I don't even remember. He's gonna have that whole bit where it just starts to like his name's just gonna keep picking up more and more steam at the end of the cycle.
Yeah, this is
they weren't first rounders, but I feel like if anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be him. But he's not gonna be good in the NFL. He's not gonna do anything.
Fair, Joe.
Okay.
Fair. That was my list. That's the list.
Right. So speaking of quarterbacks, the next question we had was from Coach O's fishing hole. Don't know what that's a reference to. He wanted to know who should the Dolphins draft at quarterback. And the interesting thing is the comments that you guys gave was that the answer should be just no one.
Man, listen, if you're not sold on Tua, that's fine. I get it. I understand. There's been some up and down moments. I mean, even today, he's like 27 out of 32, which is fantastic. He throws a bad interception. Like, I get it. There's some bad with some good. Like, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand that. So I just wanted to put that out before I say, what is drafting another quarterback and resetting doing when you have such a massive need at offensive line? You're going to throw someone into another bad situation. How about this? If you're not sold on Tua, let's ride it out for a little bit. Let's get some assets around him, namely up front at offensive tackle, because right now Jesse Davis ain't it. Liam Eichenberg right now is not it. Austin Jackson, you had to move into guard because he's also not it. Let us figure out up front. You're starting to get some wide receivers. Jalen Waddle looks like a home run pick. You need a running back. You need offensive linemen. Let's build this in case Tua's not the guy. But for now, I think Tua can still be the guy. And I think that drafting a quarterback hastily right now and throwing a guy into the same bad situation isn't wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, what are we 2 years removed from tank for Tua? Like, this was a thing. Right. This is just another situation where I feel like the NFL or the fans of the NFL or those involved with the NFL are just a little too quick to give up on a young quarterback. And look, Tua dealt with some injuries. It kind of hurt going into his rookie season, coming off the COVID year where things were a little bit different. Didn't have that full off season. He struggled as a rookie, and here we are in his second year. You've gotten an up and down play. We had a pretty good game, like you said, outside of that one ugly interception. Had a good game, some impressive throws down the football field. I think for me, if he's not your long-term quarterback, give him one more year, build around him, like you said. Invest in this offense a little bit more, and let him prove it. And then look, we have if he's not it, that's fine. 2023, the quarterback situation, as far as looking to draft one, is a better situation, anyways. Give him one more year. If you still aren't sold on him, then you can look in 2023.
I would just like to say, Joe,
yes,
Colin, as I've often said, is a man of culture, and he has spoken.
You don't know Colin the way that I know Colin. I have known Colin for way too long, and he is the only person watching this live. I don't even. We'll talk off air. Colin knows how I know him, literally just from listening to our podcast, but to Sean and I's podcast. But let's get to the next question now. I completely derailed the comment I was gonna make. Colin, every freaking time, Colin, you derail everything. But this is why we don't go live. BV Hawkeyes wants to know who the first offensive lineman that will be drafted. He threw out Evan Neal as the potential option. Does that sound like Evan Neal is probably going to be that first guy drafted?
I think so. I know. So a lot of people are now talking about Ike Ekwonu from North Carolina State. I know some people that have a very high opinion. I think Brandon Thorne over at Bleacher Report has him as his number 1 offensive lineman and number 3 overall player in this class. I am not nearly there on Ike Mekwano. I am there now with him in the mid to late first round conversation, early second round, somewhere in that 20 to 35 bucket, 20 to 40 bucket. Like, that is a good evaluation for me. I don't think he's a tackle, and that's really my skepticism. Like, for me, his temperament and his body type and his play style is a guard inside. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you're going to draft Evan Neal because, one, he has that body. 6'8", 360, athleticism, 3-year starter at Alabama, has played 3 different positions on the offensive line, versatility, pedigree. He's got all the skill set in the world to be a starting offensive tackle at the next level and to be a potentially dominant one. So I think Evan Neal's a safe guy. I'm still on the Sean Ryan bandwagon. I am. It still hasn't picked up for whatever reason. I think the kid's phenomenal. I think the kid should go top 10, top 15. But right now, I would say, based upon everything that I've heard and just kind of just when you look at it, man, when you put everything together, I think Evan Neal's a safe bet to be the first offensive lineman off the board.
Yeah, I think we're still at a point. This is kind of how we came in preseason, that it looked like Evan Neal was the runaway guy as the number 1 offensive lineman in this year's class. I don't think there's anything that he's done that's changed mine, or I don't think anything that's going to change the NFL's opinion on that. I think he's going to be a top 5 pick in this year's class, top 5-6 pick. It's really going to come down to who's that second guy, in my opinion. That's you bring up Hakeem, you bring up Charles Cross, who's only gotten better this year, and especially as a pass protector. Darian Kennard is someone that's some people really like in the first round. I'm a big fan of. Think he has a perfect build for the NFL, and I think he could propel. I talked about this yesterday on another show I was on. Darian Kennard is someone that I could see finding success both outside and inside. I'd be willing to let him work outside a little bit. I know, Ryan, you give me the face. He probably suits better inside, but I think this is someone I feel comfortable allowing to play outside and prove to me that you need to be moved inside before doing so. I think it's one of those situations.
I get that. I just think that every time I see him against more flexible outside track rushers, I think he just struggles a little bit. I just think he's a guard, and I think he's a dominant one. I compared him to Kelechi Osemele, who was a very good offensive tackle for Iowa State when he made the transition, and obviously he eventually moved into guard for the Ravens and the Raiders, and he was a very good football player. I think the one interesting one that you just said, though, Alex, that could crash the party. I said Evan Neal, I think, is the first guy. Charles Cross is the guy that might unseat him, honestly. And it's because he has that true profile to being a blindside protector. I was so hesitant on Charles Cross. I've watched now 2 games of 2021 so far. I'm not hesitant anymore. The kid has filled out, his play strength has improved, and he is a gifted athlete. So that I'm there on that one. And Joe, I don't know if we want to bang that one out real quick. The TRC man one, I can bang that out though real quick if you want.
So the Tanner Connor one.
Tanner Connor, yep.
Yeah, go for it. You want to go ahead and answer that? So we're getting a comment on the YouTube. Thoughts on Tanner Connor?
Yes, yeah. So Tanner Connor is a wide receiver for Idaho State. We actually had him on the Believe in NFL Prospects podcast. He was actually more of a track athlete in high school. He played in a triple option offense as a flanker, so not really a much production as a wide receiver. So he actually, basically went to Idaho State coaching staff and was like, can I please play? Like, I'm going to run track here. Can you also take me for football? And I don't think he had a scholarship from the football. I think maybe he had like a partial, whatever it was. He ends up going there, and now he is turned into an NFL prospect. I think that he can get drafted late because he is 6'3", 225 pounds. He's a 10'5", 100-meter guy for the Idaho State track team, and also a 14-second 110 high hurdler as well. So this kid is an athlete. He's got that big physical frame. He can be a special teams ace, I think, early on in his career. And he's got some developmental ability as a size-speed combination at outside receiver. So Tanner Connor, I think, has a chance to sneak into the late rounds because of the physical upside and the talent that he does have and the projection to special teams.
Alex, I'm assuming you have nothing to add in.
No, I like that.
Look,
when coming from a smaller school like that, you gotta have physical traits, and you touched on it, Ryan. The size, it's 6'3", 225, has the speed like you touched on there. Those are the things that are going to get you looks. It's someone that maybe has some potential as a special teams guy early on as a depth piece to kind of invest in and get NFL coaching?
Hey, I control the questions here. Hey, Colin, pipe down over there. Sorry, Alex, didn't mean to cut you off. I would like to get to our next question, talking more of the broad sweeping stuff. David E.J. Berger asked us, will we see a running back drafted before round 3? Now, if this was asking anybody in the first round, I feel like the answer would be no. But round 3, I feel like there's going to be some players somewhere in round 2.
I will bet my house that there is a running back drafted before round 3, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bet my house.
Okay.
I'll
bet against you. Give me your house if you're wrong.
Man, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. I think there's going to be a running back drafted in the first round. I've been on the record. I don't have an inside source here, but I think Kyron Williams from Notre Dame is going to go round 1. Just putting it out there, just putting it out in the universe. Wow. I think that the skill set is
RB1, baby.
Eerily reminiscent of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, did Kansas City maybe get that one wrong? Possibly, but I think Kyron Williams has a higher upside, and he's a similar type of football player to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I think he has a chance. Breece Hall is a slam dunk top 50 player, all right? Just listen to me when I'm telling you. Slam dunk. Isaiah Spiller has a chance to go in the second round. I think Kenneth Walker Jr. from Michigan State has a chance to go in the second round, maybe into the third, but possibility of the second round. So, yes, all that to say, there will absolutely be a couple running backs drafted before round 3. Absolutely.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of with you. Let's play a game. Over, under, 4.5 running backs drafted in the top 2 rounds.
All right, so top 64 at running back. 4.5, you said?
Yep. That's basically assuming Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, and then
Spiller,
Walker, and then one more. Do you get one more in the top 64?
No, I say it's Hall, Spiller, Williams, Walker. I'm not
forced to.
You don't see Charbonnet.
Charbonnet is a late day 2 guy for me because I don't think he gives you anything in the passing game, and I don't think he's like a incredible athlete. I think he's kind of a one-note type of rusher. Devontae Price is interesting for Florida International, but I think he's more of a late day 2, early day 3 guy. I mean, besides that, who else do we got? I mean, maybe Tyler Beatty. Maybe
I love Tyler Beatty.
I just don't know if he goes top 64 though. Like I think more third round just because of the fact that he doesn't have that size to be an every down back. He's more kind of that situational player, but he's a dynamic football player. But I'm going to go under there. I'm going to say it's 4 if the number's 4.5.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up some people like Zonovan Knight in that range. I don't think he's top 54.
Yeah.
Jerrion Ely just doesn't do enough at this point.
Yeah.
And he's small. He's
small. He's at 190.
Dude, he was listening. I'm sure he's gained weight since then, but in the spring, when the scouts went through, he was verified at 172.
Oh, that's not. You can get away with that with Devonta Smith because he's like, he's a unique player, but running back, no shot you can play running back at that weight. There's no way.
He thinks he's Alex's favorite pass running back, Dexter McCluster. Like that's who he is.
What a guy! Dexter
Ole Miss guy too.
Dexter McCluster, good football player.
Dree Archer from Kent State.
Buck 50,
what a guy,
basically. So, guys, getting to our next question from Denezikin S. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who wants to know who the first wide receiver off the board will be? And where do they land? So this is a little bit of projection here. I feel as though just from talking to you guys and when we've talked about this stuff on the show and when we did the mock draft, it's probably not going to be until like 15 to 20 range until we see a receiver taken off the board. And if that does happen, who do you think makes the most sense?
Alex, you want to take this one first?
Go for it, Alex.
Look, there's a few names at the top.
Sorry, I agree with that statement that Colin put in that Pierce Strong should be in the first round.
I popped that up while you were reading the next question. You didn't even see it.
No.
Obviously you got the couple guys at Ohio State that are going to be at the top of a lot of people's list. Drake London before the injuries in that conversation. I know, Ryan, that's someone you've come around to and are well in on. Treylon Burks, someone I've been on. Jahan Dotson's done well for himself. Jameson Williams has been a a wide receiver with the speed that he has, unique speed he has, could garner high draft capital. But I'm still going to stick with my summer wide receiver one here in Treylon Burks. I think for him, you have the size, you have the speed, you have the yards after catch ability, with the way they deploy him as a screen receiver and such. But I think what I've been most impressed with this year in watching live, I haven't dove into the film per se, is his ability, the way he can contort his body at the catch point. I think he's a lot stronger at the catch point in adjusting his body. We saw a fun play with Chris Olave this week, kind of tracking the football down the football field over the shoulder. But I've been really, really impressed with Treylon Burks' ability at the catch point. He's really flexible on the sideline. In some of the live watch I've seen him. Talk about projecting him where, Joe, I think you hit it right. I think it's in that 16-20 range. So then it's about what teams are going to be in that range. My
Browns, Ravens.
indication, I'm going to go New Orleans drafts the first receiver this year in Treylon Burks. That's my projection.
You think that they're not going to be picking outside of 20? You think that they're going to be?
No, I you talking about like closer to 30?
Well, just 20, 22, somewhere in that range. Because I'm assuming that they're going to make the playoffs as a wild card, right? Because that seventh wild card spot in the NFC is terrible right now.
Yeah, it's
going to be somebody who stumbles, like a Steelers. I feel like would make. Actually, I don't know if they need a receiver though. What about you, Ryan? Right, Ryan. What are your thoughts?
Well, Joe, do you remember before last week's episode? I know we kind of scrambled near the end there, but do you remember I told you that I wanted to proclaim my draft crushdom to someone? Do you remember this?
Yes, it was. Can I say, or no? You go ahead and say. You say. It's your man.
So I put in this chat, man. I wanted to take a couple minutes just to talk about Garrett Wilson again, because he was my preseason summer wide receiver one, and he still is, man. Because every week I watch this kid, because Ohio State's always on TV. Every week I watch him. It just reaffirms how good he is, because he is a multi-level threat, and he wins in every single way on the football field. Every other wide receiver in this class, in my opinion, there is a hole in a way that they do not win, okay? And there is Treylon Burks, who is incredibly athletic. He can absolutely burn down the field. There's no question. He can win in the air. Can't win as a route runner right now. And I don't know how much better that gets, because he is 225, 230 pounds, and he's a little tight. I don't know how much that gets better. Does that matter? I mean, DK Metcalf has turned out to be great.
That's what I was going to bring up.
And I wasn't saying that super matters, because he can win in two different ways, right? He can win in two different ways. So it might not matter. But my point is that there is a way that he does not win. Drake London, not a burner down the field. He's not going to separate down the field, okay? He's going to have to be a catch point guy purely. So there's a way that he doesn't win. Chris Olave, no physicality to him. He's not a guy that's going to win in contested catch situations. He's going to track the ball well. He's going to run routes. That's awesome. There is only one wide receiver in this class, in my opinion, Garrett Wilson, that has shown the ability to win in every single area. After catch, in the air, incredible in the air for a guy his size, just around 5'11", and 6'8", I think is verified in the spring. A guy that can win as a route runner. I keep throwing the comp out there, and I don't care how lofty it is. He reminds me of Antonio Brown. He just does. And stylistically, body type, it reminds me so much of him. So I think Garrett Wilson's the first guy off the board, and I think that the floor of the top wide receiver drafted right now, I believe the Cleveland Browns would have the 16th overall selection. That's the floor. That's the floor. They need a wide receiver, dude. They just need one. So whether they decide they like Treylon or they like Garrett Wilson, I think that's the last possible outcome. But I do think that there's going to be one guy that goes before that. Don't be shocked if a wide receiver goes top 10. I think it's possible. New York Jets, I think, have 2 top 10 picks right now. Don't be shocked if one of them is a wide receiver.
Wow.
Especially with, Mims has not developed the way they wanted. Corey Davis is fine, but he's not anything as special. They have Elijah Moore as a young guy, but they need more production, out of that room. I think Garrett Wilson's the first one. I think at worst he goes number 16, but I think he goes a lot higher.
I think you did a great job talking about and breaking down the way Garrett Wilson wins in a multitude of ways versus the other guys. The one thing I'll rebuttal, and I do believe it's Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson. I think those are 1A, 1B, and because they're so stylistically different, It's really going to be a what do you want out of that selection? So, but the one thing I'll add there is that I think Garrett Wilson's missing that Treylon Burks definitely has is his ability after the catch. We see guys like A.J. Brown, who I think is a top 5 receiver in the NFL at this point. His ability after the catch as a ball carrier, I think for Treylon Burks molds that kind of guy better than Garrett Wilson, in my opinion. And I'm starting to put a little bit more value in a receiver that can do more after the catch.
I think that they win in different ways after the catch, but I think Garrett Wilson's really good after the catch too. So a slight disagreement there, but okay. I understand your preference there because you've seen the guys that are real yak guys right now are guys like Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, those guys that are more win alpha physicality, not as much as like making guys miss in the open field. So I understand why your preference is there. I just think that Garrett Wilson wins after the catch just in a little bit of a different way.
All right, guys, we got 2 more questions here, an offensive lineman and a secondary one. Tyler Linderbaum has pretty much been the lock to be maybe the first interior lineman off the board, but definitely to be the first center off the board, the center out of Iowa. We know that he's a fantastic athlete, which is hard to find at the center position because of all the different sports that he played in high school before he came to Iowa. There's that video of him beating Tristan Wirfs in wrestling, which is pretty crazy to see. But this question is asking, who is the best center outside of Tyler Linderbaum? This is from Sly. Ryan, who would you have to say, and we were kind of talking about this a little bit before we hopped on, who would you have to say would be that guy?
I have a take, Joe. I have a take.
Uh-oh.
I don't think it's a slam dunk that Tyler Linderbaum's the first center off the board.
Really?
I don't. And last year I said this, and people made fun of me, and I'm going to pat myself
Everyone
on the
makes
back real
fun of
quick. I know they do. But so I said last year I thought Creed Humphrey wasn't going to be the first center off the board. And everyone's like, oh, have you watched Creed Humphrey? He's so good. He's so good. And he ends up being the third center off the board. Now, Linderbaum is going to go top 35. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. The problem there, though, is the projection to the next level is if you're a team that runs a heavy wide zone approach, it's slam dunk, man. Like, It makes so much sense. He's a Pro Bowler multiple times in that system. There has been increased physicality, which is promising this year, but there is still some limitations. He has shorter arms. He has a smaller frame. For some teams that are running a bunch of gap power and that's their style, I don't think they're going to value him a ton. So I think there's still some limitations to him. He's a little more scheme dependent. Now, when he's in that scheme, though, he's excellent. There's no doubt about it. But there's 2 guys, in my opinion, that are a little more scheme diverse that could jump him or at least be in the conversation. That's Jared Patterson from Notre Dame, who Notre Dame has been a dumpster fire of an offensive line this year. Like, they've just not been good. And that has hidden the fact that Jared Patterson's been good again. He's been very good. He's, especially the last few games, he's been dominant at center. 6'4.5", 300 pounds. Best pass blocking center I think I've seen come out ever, maybe, for my time evaluating. Like, he reminds me so much of Alex Mack. I just see it constantly. So he's a guy in the conversation. And I think Ricky Stromberg from Arkansas is in the conversation. I really do, because he's physical. He's a good athlete, good flexibility, and he is a finisher. And I really like Ricky Stromberg. Now, I know that the NFL values Jared Patterson. One, because he's a 3-year starter at Notre Dame, the success they've had. And like I said, he's got some scheme versatility to him. I don't know how the NFL values Ricky Stromberg. I don't know, but my eyes tell me that he's a very good football player. So I'm going to bang the table for him. I don't know which one goes as far as like who's the other guy besides Linderbaum, but I think it's going to be either Patterson or Stromberg. So I'm going to defer here. I'm not going to pick one, but I'm going to say it's one of those 2 guys.
Yeah, I think the early favorite as far as the center position is going to be Patterson, just because we have a little bit more of an idea of what people outside of us in this small circle right here, but between the 3 of us, what other people believe in Patterson. We haven't heard as much about Stromberg, but I agree with you. I think Stromberg should be. You talk about Arkansas' success this year, and obviously Sam Pittman coming from an offensive line position at Georgia, becoming the head coach and turning that program around. Ricky Stromberg is at the center, literally and figuratively, of why that rushing attack for Arkansas has been so successful this year. So I think it's Patterson when it's all said and done. I think him and Linderbaum are both going to be top 50 picks. where Stromberg, it's harder to project right now just because we haven't heard as much noise regarding his name around those that are close knit with a NFL circle. So right now, I'm gonna project out Patterson.
All right. So speaking of second best, like the last question was asking about, last one that we have here from Christian Daniels, who is the second best safety? So that's assuming, and I don't think there's going to be any disagreement on this one, that Kyle Hamilton is the first guy taken at the safety position, probably going to be a top 5, at least top 10 pick. But I do think that there is certainly a lot of discourse when you start talking about that second guy, and it depends on what you value. So is it a Verone McKinley? Is it somebody else? Where do you guys sit on this?
You go, Alex. Let me hear it.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see if you're going to be a Georgia homer here. Go ahead.
No, actually, the Georgia defense as a whole has been obviously very impressive. But individually, Lewis Cine has not stood out the way I thought he was going into the season, especially as the sole returning starter from Georgia's 2022 secondary coming into this year. Jalen Catalon, another guy I was excited about, disappointing despite the team playing better. Brandon Joseph doesn't look like the same ball hawk that he was a year ago. I think it's down to 2 guys for safety 2 for me. And I'm interested to see when it comes to final evaluations who it's going to end up being. Both out of the Big Ten, one being Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State, the other being Daxton Hill out of Michigan. I think for me, these are the 2 guys that I feel like do everything so well on the back end. I can't pick out too many holes in their game from a coverage standpoint, from a run defending standpoint. These are guys that tackle well, can move very, very well, in my opinion. For me, I see in live viewing and what I was able to see dating back to 2020, these are 2 guys that I saw little holes in their game. And at the safety position, I think that is one position group where obviously having the high end traits matter in every position, but I think safety more than most positions. I just want to see a good, line of play across the board that I can feel, because at the end of the day, you're a safety net at the back end of the defense. Like, I want you to do everything well. I don't want you to miss tackles. I don't want you to, give up the big play because you lack a step. I want you to be well-rounded, and I think those 2 lack very many holes in their game.
It would have been Brandon Joseph for me before the season. He was my safety too.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't seen enough to know if it's really been as bad as people have kind of said. And he's only a redshirt sophomore, so I don't know if he's going to declare, to be honest with you. So for me, and you named a couple guys, Alex, I'm going to take one of them. Jaquan Brisker's my guy now. He's my guy. I think Daxton has the higher upside. He's a fantastic athlete. I think there's some man reps in the slot that are fantastic, and quick twitch and quick and close is fantastic for a safety. Like, it is extraordinary. I think that he's going to be a projectable as a nickel or a safety, to be honest. But I am so impressed with Jaquan Brisker, man. I was not a fan of Jaquan Brisker last year. I thought he was a, day 3 guy, like early to mid day 3, like 4 to 5 rounds. Like, dude, like I liked it because there are athletic traits, and he's 6'1" 3/8, right around 6'1.5". He's physical. Like, there's a lot of good things to like. This year, film's been incredible, man. Like, he is, because last year and this year also, I would have been like, all right, I can see it as a box safety. I can see the physicality. He runs the alley like bat out of hell. He's nice in the box. Like, there's a lot of nice things there from a physical perspective. But, like, what's the upside as a pass coverage guy? This year, there's a lot of upside. He's playing that too high. Like, I don't think he's a true center fielder type, but, like, hash the sideline. He's doing a lot of good things, robbing short zones. He seems to just always be in the right spot all the time. This is not and I made an Adrian Amos comparison to him, and I've kind of removed that one now for a second. And this is a big comp. It is. And because I think that he has a chance to go late first round. I really do. And I'm not saying that he's going to be this player, but stylistically, he reminds me a little bit of Eric Berry that used to play with the Kansas City Chiefs, who is same build, physical, but better coverage guy than you would anticipate. Now, I'm not gonna say Jaquan Brisker is going to be a multi-time Pro Bowler and one of the best safeties in the NFL within the first couple years, but I think play style wise, there are some comparisons to an Eric Berry. So I'm in on Jaquan Brisker, potential first round pick. I'm buying into it. Top 50, absolutely. I think he could sneak into the first round.
I like it.
All right, well, that's the last of the questions that we have. So
that was it.
Folks, thank you for sending them in. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date wherever you're tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.